good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Bloody Disgusting Network. The following show is just horrifying. Beware.
We're gonna carry on and plan the sequel, because let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.
And welcome back to Micro Queers. It's your monthly queer horror short roundup, and I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we are discussing CJ Arellano's Griffica, now streaming on Deku, everybody.
Indeed. Yeah, so obviously we try to prioritize queer horror shorts that are publicly available on Vimeo or YouTube, but we were sent this one by the writer-director, so we decided, you know what, we can give a shout-out. Deco's doing some of the good work, and obviously, folks, if you have never signed up for a free trial on Deco, if you go on there, you can see a bunch of different queer horror shorts, as well as TV shows and other things. But if you do, so that you can watch this short, you might also want to check out the Latent Image, which was the last queer horror short that we covered that is only available on Deco.
Yes, and actually that's going to be a feature-length film soon, Joe.
It is indeed. Yes, I'm very excited.
But on to Griffica. I was pleasantly surprised with this. It's, again, you're not going to get a lot of gore in this, but it really, to me, spoke to queer, well, specifically gay male relationships, and how sometimes we are so incapable of loving ourselves that it prevents us from loving someone else. And in this case, it has disastrous consequences.
Yeah, indeed. So if folks haven't watched the short, or you're just going to listen to us, it is about Robbie, who is played by James Dolbear, who suspects that his boyfriend Gavin, who is played by Ulysses Espinosa, and he thinks that Gavin is a demon. And it's principally because Gavin seems too perfect. Like,
yes.
I guess the novelty about this short, and one of the things that I really liked about it, so I got to see this at Salem Horror Fest last year, and I had completely forgotten about it until I turned it on. I was like, oh, fuck, yes, I really remember enjoying this one. There's absolutely no dialogue. The entire story is told in voiceover with filmed images, and normally, that is a huge no-no for me. I don't like voiceover because I watch a lot of YA TV and movies, and they overuse it. It's a narrative crutch. But in this case, I think it's so cleverly well done. Like, it's a way to make sure that you're not having to get perfect dialogue or audio on set. Like, you basically just have to make sure that the words match up on screen. But overall, I think in this case, it's a strong creative choice that really pays off.
Well, I think it lets you focus on the imagery of the film, or at least not us, but even just the director, Arellano. Because, yeah, we don't have to worry about dialogue, but all we have to do is have a voiceover and focus on how we're going to match up the images on screen to go with this voiceover. And I don't know. Okay, right at the gate, do you think that he's just being paranoid, or do you think we're really working with a demon here?
Well, that's actually my favorite thing about this short, is that it does end ambiguously enough that you could think, oh, okay, he just can't handle the fact that his boyfriend is so perfect and he ends up spiraling. Or you could say, oh, well, no, there is that scene where he digs up a brain in the Potter, and
but it's a horse brain.
Everything about this guy is too perfect. So yeah, he probably is planning on eating him or sacrificing him on their 1-year anniversary. Like, I love that you could play it either way.
I agree. And, you know, I think we've talked about this before plenty of times. I'm really, over the whole, the protagonist was crazy the whole time. Like, they're just imagining things. They're being paranoid. However, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just because, I'm gay and I'm finding another, level to connect with this on. So I'm interested to see if you feel similarly. But it worked for me because I do think that, gay men have a psychological history of stunted emotional development, and that comes from, of course, being closeted and having to hide who you are for so long. No, I mean, but this is true. I always used to say growing up, I was like, I personally lived out my teens in my 20s because I wasn't able to, like, you know, go on dates and have sex and whatever, like at a younger quote unquote age, for lack of a better term. So I was doing that a lot in my 20s. So it's like I'm almost 10 years behind my straight counterparts in both emotional and like relationship development. And so that played, I mean, we don't really know any of this from this character. That's not given to us in any of this. But given the way he talks, his therapy, the way he reacts to certain things, I'm kind of like, that's what this feels like to me. And so if it is just he's crazy, he's imagining all this, I'm honestly okay with it in this specific scenario.
Yeah, it's interesting because the things that we know about Robbie, like he talks about going to therapy, we see him in his sessions, and he reveals that his parents didn't handle his coming out very well. And he looks at Gavin, who came out at 7, and his parents threw him an entire block party with a rainbow-shaped cake that was made just for him. And you can tell that part of Robbie's struggle is less about like, oh, is my seemingly perfect boyfriend a demon, and more like, I'm just really jealous of how put together this person is, and I'm messy. Like, I'm, you know, he's not quote unquote as conventionally good looking, and his partner is, and his partner seems to be adept at doing everything, like knows innocuous details without seeming to have to work at them, and that's frustrating to Robbie. So it feels almost like it's a jealousy thing, and then because it's horror, we just introduce, well, maybe he's so perfect because he's a fucking demon and he wants to kill me.
Because he works with this coffee bean thing called Griffica that only he and 2 other people on 2 different continents know about. So,
yes.
But except for the brother, who's like, oh, no, that's the demon coffee bean.
But also we can't trust the brother because we see his search history, and it's basically all conspiracy theory shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here in an 11-minute short. But I was very intrigued by this, and I actually did think that it was shot very well. Like, I thought the vibe of this was really well done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for very sort of clean, contemporary, like, in some ways this looks like an IKEA catalog version of a horror short, where you're just like, it's so smooth and glossy, like, it looks really expensive. And I think the fact, too, that we have the perfect dialogue, like, the story is being gently fed to us in some ways, so we can really, as you said, just focus on these visuals, and they are so clean and crisp. It's just really, I don't know, it feels like it's a visually compelling to me. Like, the story just goes down so smoothly. Yeah, no, I huge agree on you there. And I think again, we don't get a lot of acting from the lead. I mean, I'm sorry, they are acting, obviously, but because we don't have that dialogue outside of our protagonist voiceover, I don't know, I just thought that was a very interesting, clearly deliberate choice. But I also, I don't want any more from his partner. I don't want to know. Yeah, I don't want to know any insight to him, because again, this is our main guy's story. Yeah, I mean, and I think that could get you into trouble normally if you're saying, oh, we're stuck in this person's head and they could be going mad. They could be suffering from mental illness. And if we see that in a traditional film, that can be frustrating, because as you said, we've seen this a number of times recently, more often with female protagonists. I'm thinking of things like Knocking, Saint Maud, a couple of other ones. Right. But here, I think it works really well because it's a short, right? So it's like we're seeing a couple of days in this guy's life as we're leading up to this big date. The fact that it's all going to happen on their 1-year anniversary, as you said, that's like an immediate trigger where you're just like, oh shit, this is serious. Like, so it's all very relatable in that regard. But do you also see it as a way of like self-sabotage? I mean, again, if we're going with this like he's the boyfriend is not really a demon, whatever. Yeah, it's like this is too good to be true. Yeah, I have to destroy this because I don't deserve this, or something like that. Yes, all of that. So relatable, right? Yeah, very much so. Well, okay, I mean, but that being said, I think this is a pretty, like, not perfect short, but I mean, like, it gets everything it needs to get done in these 11 minutes. It's in and out. Would you want to see this as a feature? So I don't. And I feel like we're actually getting more comfortable saying that. Like, when we first started doing microqueers, everything was like, oh my god, yes, I absolutely want to see this as something longer. Give me side stories. Give me a feature version. And now I'm starting to feel like, oh, you know what? Some of these people really know how to do a short well. And the reason to me that this works well is because it's only 11 minutes. Like, I couldn't imagine a feature-length version of this. I think it'd be too stifling.
I agree. And that's also, too, when the whole, like, oh, is the protagonist, like, actually insane or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that stretched to, again, even just 80 minutes. I'm like, oh, like, no, I don't need to see that narrative again.
I mean, I could imagine it. You know, it's like we get to see their meet cute. We get to see them move in together. The inconsistencies in that perfection start to add up. And then we get towards the 1 year anniversary and we discover, oh shit, if he is a demon, he's going to sacrifice me. But you would have to lose this interior monologue only, right? Like, you'd have to have dialogue. You'd have to have more characters. And I think that's where so much of the charm of this short comes in. I definitely want to see more of Arellano, because I think the direction of this, the writing of it, it's smart, it's clever, it's very self-aware, and I want to see more of that. It's just not this story. Like, this story is great the way it is.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like, to me, it is the queerness that adds into this. I'm even thinking about something like Spiral, the gay one, not the Saw one, where I'm kind of like, okay, I'm struggling to find how you would make this particularly innovative or novel, outside of just being another, like, paranoid protagonist story. Like, that's what we're doing here. Yeah. Outside of really keying into his queerness and how that is playing into his current mental state. So again, that could be how you could do it. But I agree with you. I kind of like this as a short and just as a short.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Listeners, let us know what you think of Griffica and whether or not you would like to see this as a feature-length film. Hit us up on all the socials and comment on everything and let us see what... God damn it. Oh, my God.
Yes, all the socials and all the comments. That's what we're looking for.
But until next time, I think we can cross out Griffica.
Indeed. And cross out microqueers.
Atlas Avenue, a long stretch of road that encompasses everything the city of Kennett Heights has to offer. Neon lights, traffic, crime, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and the craziest of characters. My office was above it all. My name is James Locke, and I'm a PI.
Hello, Mr. J. How the hell you doing today?
Good, Edith. Nearly every year I have a new case. New people to meet, new clues to discover, and new problems to solve. But I do it the old-fashioned way. No technology. Nothing post-1950. Hell, I don't even listen to podcasts, but you should. Atlas Avenue Beat is a spoof of the film noir genre with goofy characters, tons of wordplay, and non-stop raunchy humor. There's also 3 whole seasons out right now with more on the way. Just search for Atlas Avenue Beat wherever you listen to podcasts or visit us online at bloody.fm.
Hello, I'm Shelby Scott, the host of Scare You to Sleep, a podcast where I tell you spooky bedtime stories full of creepy sound effects and music that is soothing yet unsettling to help immerse you into a world of horror. This is a show for those of us who have realized horror can be a strange but relaxing escape from reality. Speaking of escapes, sometimes I lead you through guided nightmares, like a guided meditation, but instead of flowery meadows, I take you on a journey through your own personal nightmare. So come get lost in the terror with me. Listen to Scare You to Sleep wherever you listen to podcasts, or find us online at bloody.fm. Sweet screams.